in the farthest reaches of the cosmos, where stars burned with an otherworldly intensity and nebulae painted the void with colors no human eye had ever beheld, there existed a realm known only as the Dominion of Zytherion. This vast empire stretched across countless star systems, ruled by the enigmatic alien Queen Zyrael, whose very name inspired both reverence and terror among her people. Her palace, a crystalline structure that floated amidst the rings of a massive gas giant, pulsed with an ethereal light that seemed to breathe in time with the cosmic winds. The Zytherians were a race of beings whose biology defied human comprehension. Their bodies shimmered with iridescent scales that shifted colors based on their emotions, while their elongated limbs moved with a grace that made Earth's most accomplished dancers appear clumsy. Most striking were their eyes, vast, multifaceted orbs that could perceive dimensions beyond human understanding, capable of seeing not just what was, but what could be. They communicated through a complex symphony of bioluminescent patterns and subsonic vibrations that resonated through their crystalline environment. At the heart of this alien society stood Princess Lyria, the queen's only daughter. Unlike her mother's imposing presence and commanding authority, Lyria possessed a gentle nature that manifested in her soft, pastel-colored scales and the constant, soothing pulse of her bioluminescence. She was known throughout the Dominion for her compassion and curiosity about other species, traits that often brought her into conflict with the more traditional members of the royal court. The princess spent her days studying ancient texts about other civilizations, her delicate hands tracing over holographic records of distant worlds, always yearning to understand the universe beyond her crystalline home. The relationship between Queen Zyrael and Princess Lyria was one of deep love but also profound tension. The queen, hardened by centuries of ruling a vast empire, struggled to reconcile her daughter's gentle nature with the demands of leadership. While she admired Lyria's empathy and intelligence, she worried that these qualities might make her vulnerable in a universe where power often spoke louder than compassion. This concern had led the queen to keep her daughter under close protection, surrounding her with layers of security protocols and limiting her exposure to potentially dangerous situations, a decision that would soon prove both wise and tragically insufficient. On a routine diplomatic mission to a remote sector of the Dominion, Princess Lyria found herself aboard the royal cruiser Celestial Harmony, accompanied by her personal guard and a small entourage of advisors. The mission was meant to be simple: observe the annual migration of the Lumina whales, magnificent creatures that traversed the gaseous oceans of Zytherion Prime. These beings, revered by the Zytherians for their wisdom and grace, were believed to hold ancient knowledge within their crystalline songs. As the cruiser descended into the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, something unprecedented occurred. A rogue asteroid field, displaced by gravitational anomalies from a nearby supernova, began hurtling toward their position. The ship's automated systems detected the threat too late. The asteroids were moving at velocities that exceeded their defensive capabilities. In a matter of seconds, the once peaceful observation mission transformed into a desperate struggle for survival. The impact came without warning. Several smaller asteroids breached the ship's hull, sending shockwaves through its crystalline structure. Alarms blared in frequencies that vibrated through every living being aboard, while emergency protocols initiated automatic compartmentalization. Princess Lyria found herself separated from her guards, trapped in a rapidly depressurizing section of the ship. Her bioluminescent patterns flashed in distress as she attempted to reach the emergency oxygen reserves, but the violent shaking of the vessel threw her against a bulkhead, leaving her dazed and injured. Through the chaos, Captain Vrenthal of the Royal Guard assessed the situation with growing dread. The damage was catastrophic. Primary systems were failing, life support was compromised, and rescue pods were malfunctioning due to the continued asteroid bombardment. As he coordinated evacuation efforts, his sensors picked up an unusual energy signature approaching from the outer rim of the system. At first, he thought it might be another threat, but then he recognized the distinct pattern of an Earth vessel, a human explorer ship called the Stellar Horizon. Captain Marcus Chen had been charting unexplored regions of space when his ship sensors detected the distress signals from the Celestial Harmony. Though officially outside human jurisdiction, protocol demanded assistance to any vessel in peril. What he hadn't anticipated was finding himself face to face with an alien princess who appeared to be moments away from certain death. Through the viewport of his rescue craft, he watched as Lyria fought to maintain consciousness in the rapidly deteriorating environment. Making a split-second decision, Marcus activated his personal environmental suit and launched himself through the breach in the Zytherian vessel. The scene inside was chaos incarnate. Crystalline shards floated in zero gravity, mixing with debris and the strange luminescent blood of injured Zytherians. He located Lyria just as another impact threatened to tear the ship apart. Using equipment designed for spacewalks, he created a temporary seal around her injured form, his human hands working with practiced precision despite the alien physiology before him. As Marcus carried the unconscious princess back to his vessel, he couldn't help but notice how her bioluminescent patterns had dimmed to a faint pulse, like a dying star. The rescue proved more challenging than expected. Her body chemistry reacted violently to standard human medical treatments, forcing him to improvise using materials from both ships. Hours turned into what felt like days as he worked tirelessly, consulting with his ship's AI to interpret the princess's unique biology and stabilize her condition. When Lyria finally regained consciousness in the human medical bay, her multifaceted eyes focused on the figure watching over her with a mixture of confusion and wonder. The human before her didn't look like the warriors of legend she'd studied in her texts. His features were weathered from years in space, his hands calloused from manual labor, and his eyes carried the weight of countless decisions made in the vast emptiness between stars. Yet there was something in his expression, a combination of determination and genuine concern, that touched something deep within her. Their initial attempts at communication were awkward, filled with misunderstandings and frustrated gestures. Marcus used his ship's translation matrix, which struggled to interpret the complex bioluminescent language of the Zytherians. Lyria, in turn, attempted to use her limited knowledge of universal symbols and gestures to convey her gratitude. Despite these challenges, a connection began to form, one that transcended their different species and backgrounds. Marcus found himself captivated by the princess's resilience and quiet strength, while Lyria discovered a depth of character in the human captain that challenged everything she'd been taught about other species. As days passed and Lyria recovered, their interactions evolved from mere necessity to genuine companionship. Marcus shared stories of Earth's oceans, drawing parallels between them and the gaseous seas of Zytherian Prime. Lyria, in turn, introduced him to the crystalline music of her people, showing him how each note represented different aspects of their culture and history. Their laughter-filled sessions of mutual discovery created a bond that neither could have anticipated, one that would soon force them to confront difficult truths about their respective worlds. News of Princess Lyria's rescue spread through the Dominion like wildfire, igniting fierce debates among the Zytherian elite. Traditionalists viewed the incident as a catastrophic failure of royal security, arguing that allowing a human to save their princess exposed vulnerabilities that could be exploited by rival factions. More progressive voices, however, saw an opportunity to strengthen interstellar relations, pointing out that Captain Chen's actions demonstrated the potential for cooperation between species. Queen Zyrael found herself caught in the middle of this ideological divide, her maternal instincts warring with her political responsibilities. The Queen's council chambers became a battleground of conflicting interests. Military commanders demanded increased isolationist policies, suggesting that all contact with humans should be severed immediately. Diplomatic advisors countered with proposals for formal recognition of humanity's role in saving the princess, arguing that such an alliance could benefit the Dominion in its ongoing conflicts with neighboring empires. Meanwhile, religious leaders interpreted the event through their own lens, some claiming it fulfilled ancient prophecies about cross-species unity, while others denounced it as an affront to Zytherian purity. Amidst this political turmoil, Queen Zyrael faced an even greater challenge, reconciling her duty as a ruler with her feelings as a mother. She observed her daughter's blossoming friendship with Captain Chen through surveillance feeds, noting how Lyria's bioluminescent patterns danced with a vitality she hadn't seen in years. The princess's injuries had healed remarkably quickly thanks to the human's innovative medical techniques, and her spirits seemed higher than ever. Yet every time Zyrael considered reaching out to thank the human personally, centuries of ingrained protocol and xenophobic conditioning held her back. The situation reached a critical point when intelligence reports revealed that several rival factions within the Dominion had begun plotting to use the incident to undermine her rule. Some suggested framing the rescue as a deliberate act of weakness, while others proposed using it as justification for military expansion into human territories. Each option presented a potential disaster, threatening to destabilize the careful balance of power that had maintained peace in the Dominion for generations. Queen Zyrael knew she needed to make a decision that would satisfy both her council and her maternal instincts, but every path forward seemed to lead to compromise and sacrifice. In the privacy of her crystalline chambers, the Queen spent sleepless nights contemplating the implications of her daughter's rescue. She replayed the surveillance footage of Marcus Chen's selfless actions, noting how his every movement during the rescue had been calculated yet instinctive, driven by pure determination rather than any expectation of reward. The human's courage reminded her of her own early days as a warrior queen, before the weight of leadership had forced her to prioritize strategy over compassion. This realization sparked a deeper understanding of why Lyria had always gravitated toward those who demonstrated genuine empathy, a trait she had inherited directly from her mother. The emotional complexity of the situation deepened when Queen Zyrael received a private transmission from Captain Chen. The human had recorded a message explaining his actions, emphasizing that he had followed universal protocols for rescuing distressed vessels rather than pursuing any political agenda. His words carried a sincerity that resonated deeply with the Queen, reminding her of the fundamental values that had guided the Dominion's rise to power: honor, courage, and the preservation of life regardless of species. Yet acknowledging these shared principles publicly would require confronting centuries of ingrained prejudice within her own society. As the days passed, Queen Zyrael found herself increasingly drawn to the idea of meeting Captain Chen personally. She imagined scenarios where she could express her gratitude while maintaining the dignity of her position, perhaps even establishing a framework for future cooperation between their species. However, each time she moved closer to making this decision, memories of past betrayals and political machinations held her back. The weight of her responsibility as both a mother and a ruler pressed down upon her, creating a pressure that threatened to shatter the carefully constructed facade of imperial authority she had maintained for so long. Princess Lyria's daily visits to the stellar horizon became a ritual that defied both species' expectations. Each morning, she would request permission to board the human vessel, her bioluminescent patterns shifting through a spectrum of anticipation as she approached the airlock. Marcus Chen, equally eager for these encounters, had reconfigured part of his ship to accommodate her environmental needs, creating a hybrid space where their two worlds could meet. The area became a testament to their growing bond, filled with holographic displays of Earth's oceans alongside crystalline structures that resonated with Zytherian harmonics. Their conversations evolved from basic exchanges to profound discussions about their respective cultures. Marcus introduced Lyria to human literature, particularly stories of exploration and discovery, while she shared ancient Zytherian myths about the origins of the stars. They discovered shared values in their approaches to problem-solving. Marcus's practical engineering solutions complemented Lyria's intuitive understanding of crystalline technology. Together, they developed new methods for stabilizing damaged spacecraft, combining human ingenuity with Zytherian energy manipulation techniques. The emotional connection between them deepened with each passing day. Lyria found herself confiding in Marcus about her frustrations with court politics and her dreams of exploring beyond the Dominion's borders. In return, Marcus shared his experiences of loss and loneliness in the vastness of space, revealing vulnerabilities he'd never shown to his crew. Their laughter-filled moments of cultural misunderstanding gradually gave way to serious discussions about their places in the universe and the possibilities of bridging their worlds. Queen Zyrael observed these developments through her surveillance network, her emotions torn between pride in her daughter's growth and anxiety about the implications of such an intimate cross-species relationship. She noticed how Lyria's bioluminescent patterns had become more vibrant and complex since her rescue, indicating emotional states that traditional Zytherian teachings couldn't fully explain. The Queen's own memories of young love and discovery began to surface, complicating her already conflicted feelings about the situation. Meanwhile, the crew of the Stellar Horizon grew increasingly attached to the alien princess. They adapted their routines to accommodate her presence, learning to interpret her bioluminescent communications and appreciating her gentle nature. Stories of her kindness spread through the ship, creating a protective atmosphere around her that extended beyond mere duty. Even the most skeptical crew members found themselves charmed by her curiosity and willingness to learn about human customs. As weeks turned into months, the relationship between Lyria and Marcus took on a significance that transcended individual connection. Their interactions became a living experiment in interspecies understanding, demonstrating possibilities that neither the Dominion nor humanity had previously considered. The hybrid space they had created on the Stellar Horizon served as a microcosm of potential future cooperation, where differences were celebrated rather than feared. Yet beneath this hopeful foundation lay the unspoken awareness that their bond existed in a precarious balance, subject to forces far beyond their control. The growing bond between Princess Lyria and Captain Chen triggered a cascade of reactions throughout both the Dominion and human territories. Within the Zytherian court, factions began to solidify around opposing views of the developing relationship. The traditionalist faction, led by High Commander Vraxthal, argued that allowing such intimacy between a royal princess and a human threatened the very fabric of Zytherian society. They pointed to ancient laws prohibiting close association with lesser species, and warned of the precedent it would set for future interactions with humans. Their arguments gained traction among the military elite, who saw the situation as a potential security risk that could expose Zytherian vulnerabilities. On the other side of the debate stood the Progressive Coalition, headed by Ambassador Zhuyanera, who viewed the relationship as an unprecedented opportunity for cultural exchange and technological advancement. They highlighted how Captain Chen's innovative medical techniques had saved the princess's life and how his engineering expertise had improved Zytherian ship designs. This faction argued that embracing such connections could lead to breakthroughs in energy manipulation and space travel, potentially securing the Dominion's dominance in the region for centuries to come. Their arguments resonated particularly strongly among younger Zytherians and the scientific community, who had long advocated for more open relations with other species. Human political circles responded with equal intensity, though their divisions ran along different lines. The United Earth Council debated whether to capitalize on the situation or distance themselves from potential conflict with the powerful Zytherian Dominion. Military strategists saw an opportunity to gain valuable intelligence about Zytherian technology and weaknesses, while diplomats argued for formalizing relations through official channels. Religious groups on Earth added another layer of complexity, with some viewing the interspecies connection as a divine sign of unity, while others condemned it as unnatural. The situation reached a boiling point when unauthorized recordings of Lyria and Marcus's interactions began circulating through both societies. These images, captured by hidden surveillance devices planted by various interested parties, showed moments of genuine affection and mutual respect between the pair. Among humans, public opinion swung wildly between romanticizing the interspecies romance and condemning it as inappropriate. Media outlets amplified every gesture and exchanged glance, creating a narrative that overshadowed actual diplomatic considerations. Within the Dominion, the recording sparked widespread social unrest. Young Zytherians, inspired by the princess's example, began questioning long-held beliefs about species superiority and isolationism. Protests erupted in major cities, with demonstrators displaying bioluminescent patterns mimicking those seen in the recordings. The traditionalist response was swift and severe, leading to clashes between security forces and citizens demanding change. Queen Zyrael found herself facing increasing pressure from both sides, as maintaining order became increasingly difficult. The economic implications of the situation added another layer of complexity. Trade routes between human-controlled sectors and the Dominion began experiencing disruptions as various factions attempted to leverage the crisis for their own gain. Black market traders capitalized on the demand for information and artifacts related to the princess's rescue, while legitimate businesses suffered from the uncertainty. Investment in joint ventures between human and Zytherian corporations ground to a halt as companies waited to see how the political situation would resolve. Perhaps most significantly, the incident began influencing cultural perceptions on both sides. Human artists and writers drew inspiration from the story, creating works that explored themes of interspecies understanding and cooperation. Zytherian musicians incorporated elements of human musical theory into their crystalline compositions, while human composers experimented with translating Zytherian harmonic patterns into traditional instruments. This cultural exchange, though unofficial and often controversial, demonstrated the potential for meaningful connection between the species, even as political tensions continued to mount. Queen Zyrael summoned Captain Chen to the Crystal Spire, the highest tower of her floating palace, where the view of the gas giant's rings created an ever-changing backdrop of light and color. The journey to the spire itself was a test of nerve. Marcus had to navigate through layers of security protocols and ceremonial guards, each step bringing him deeper into the heart of Zytherian power. When he finally entered the audience chamber, he found the queen standing alone, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a complex rhythm that suggested both authority and vulnerability. "I have watched you," the queen began, her voice resonating through the crystalline walls in perfect synchronization with her glowing patterns. "You have treated my daughter with respect and kindness, qualities that are rare among your kind." Marcus bowed deeply, aware that every movement was being analyzed by both the queen and her invisible security systems. "Your actions saved not just her life, but perhaps the future of our peoples," she continued, her multifaceted eyes studying him with an intensity that made his skin prickle. The conversation that followed was unlike anything Marcus had experienced. The queen spoke of her own youth, of times when she too had questioned the rigid boundaries between species. She revealed how Lyria's rescue had forced her to confront uncomfortable truths about the Dominion's isolationist policies and the cost of maintaining pure-blood traditions. Through their discussion, Marcus began to understand the immense pressure weighing upon the Queen, not just as a ruler, but as a mother trying to protect her child while respecting her growth. Lyria joined them midway through the meeting, her presence transforming the dynamic instantly. The Queen's bioluminescent patterns softened as she watched her daughter interact with the human captain, their easy familiarity speaking volumes about the bond they had formed. Marcus noticed how Lyria's patterns now included elements that mirrored his own emotional states, a development that seemed to both please and concern the Queen. The three of them discussed possibilities for future cooperation, though each suggestion was met with careful consideration of potential consequences. As the meeting progressed, Queen Zyrael revealed her greatest fear, that allowing this relationship to continue might put Lyria in danger from factions within the Dominion who opposed such connections. Yet she also acknowledged that separating them might cause irreparable harm to her daughter's spirit. The Queen's internal conflict manifested in her shifting bioluminescent display, patterns of determination warring with those of protective instinct. Marcus understood that whatever decision she made would require tremendous personal sacrifice. The culmination of their discussion arrived unexpectedly when the Queen asked Marcus to describe his vision of the future, not just for himself and Lyria, but for their species. His response, delivered with the same straightforward honesty that had characterized his rescue mission, painted a picture of mutual growth and understanding. He spoke of shared technologies, combined strengths, and the possibility of creating something entirely new from their differences. The Queen listened intently, her patterns slowly shifting to reflect a decision forming in her mind, a decision that would alter the course of both their lives forever. As Queen Zyrael prepared to deliver her verdict, the entire Dominion seemed to hold its breath. The crystalline towers of the floating palace reflected the tension in fractured light patterns, while below in the gas giant's atmosphere, storm systems intensified as if responding to the collective anxiety of the Zytherian people. In the council chambers, representatives from every faction gathered, their bioluminescent displays creating a chaotic tapestry of conflicting emotions. The Queen's announcement would determine not just the fate of her daughter and the human captain, but potentially the future relationship between two powerful civilizations. Marcus Chen stood beside Princess Lyria in the central chamber, their proximity defying centuries of tradition. Around them, the air crackled with unspoken possibilities and looming consequences. The Queen ascended her crystalline throne, her movements measured and deliberate, each step resonating through the chamber like a heartbeat. Her bioluminescent patterns had settled into a steady rhythm, signaling her readiness to speak, yet the complexity of the display hinted at the weight of her decision. Throughout the Dominion, citizens gathered around public crystal screens, their attention fixed on the unfolding drama. In human territories, millions watched through relayed transmissions, their hopes and fears intertwined with those of their Zytherian counterparts. The moment had transcended individual lives, becoming a pivotal point in interspecies relations. Every word about to be spoken carried the potential to either bridge worlds or deepen divides, to create new possibilities or reinforce ancient barriers. As the Queen raised her hand to begin her proclamation, the universe itself seemed to pause, waiting to hear which path destiny would choose. Queen Zyrael's voice resonated through the chamber, each word carrying the weight of centuries of tradition and the promise of an uncertain future. Today, she began, her bioluminescent patterns shifting into a cascade of shimmering hues that signaled both authority and vulnerability. We stand at a crossroads. My daughter Lyria has shown us what it means to embrace understanding beyond our borders, and Captain Marcus Chen has demonstrated courage and compassion that transcend species. The room fell silent, every eye fixed on the Queen as her next words hung in the air like stardust. I have made my decision. Princess Lyria will remain free to continue her bond with Captain Chen, not as a rejection of our ways but as an affirmation of growth. Together, they shall serve as ambassadors between our peoples, a living testament to the possibility of unity where once there was only division. A ripple of shock spread through the council chambers, mirrored by gasps from those watching across the Dominion and human territories. Traditionalists stiffened, their bioluminescent displays flashing in disapproval, while progressives emitted patterns of approval and hope. Queen Zyrael raised her hand again, silencing the murmurs before they could escalate into chaos. This is not without conditions, she continued, her tone firm yet compassionate. Captain Chen must swear an oath, not just to protect my daughter but to uphold the values of peace and cooperation between our species. In return, I offer humanity formal recognition as allies of the Dominion, opening channels for trade, knowledge exchange, and mutual defense." Her gaze swept over the assembly, daring anyone to challenge her decree. Marcus stepped forward, his human form dwarfed by the grandeur of the alien court but unbowed. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment, "I accept this responsibility with humility and honor. I pledge myself to the safety and well-being of Princess Lyria, and to fostering understanding between our peoples. This is not merely a personal journey, it is a shared destiny." Lyria moved to stand beside him, her own bioluminescent patterns intertwining with his shadow as if drawn together by some unseen force. The sight stirred something deep within the observers, Zytherians and humans alike. For the first time, many saw not two separate beings but a single entity, forged from the best qualities of both worlds. Queen Zyrael nodded, her expression softening as she looked upon her daughter and the man who had saved her life. "Then let it be known," she declared, her voice echoing through the crystalline palace and beyond, "that this day marks the beginning of a new era. Let no one doubt the strength found in unity, nor the power of love to transcend even the stars themselves." As the proclamation settled over the gathered crowd, reactions varied wildly. Among the Zytherians, some cheered, their bioluminescence bursting into vibrant displays of celebration, while others turned away in quiet disapproval. In human territories, jubilation erupted in streets and space stations alike, though cautious voices reminded everyone that challenges lay ahead. Diplomats scrambled to draft treaties, military leaders adjusted strategies, and scientists eagerly anticipated opportunities for collaboration. For Lyria and Marcus, however, the immediate aftermath was deeply personal. They retreated to the hybrid space aboard the stellar Horizon, now transformed into a symbol of their union. There, surrounded by elements of both their worlds, they allowed themselves a rare moment of stillness. Lyria rested her head against Marcus's shoulder, her bioluminescent glow pulsing softly in sync with his heartbeat. "Do you think we can truly make this work?" she asked, her multifaceted eyes searching his face. Marcus smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her luminous scales. "We already have," he replied. "Every step we've taken together has been about more than just us. It's been about showing others that differences don't have to divide us. If we can keep doing that, then yes, I believe we can make this work." Their conversation was interrupted by a gentle chime, the ship's AI alerting them to an incoming transmission. It was Queen Zyrael, her image projected holographically before them. "There is one final matter," she said, her tone softer now, almost maternal. "You will need protection, not just from external threats but from those within the Dominion who may seek to undermine your mission. To that end, I am assigning Ambassador Zhuyanera and a select group of progressive allies to support you. Consider them your bridge builders." Lyria's patterns flared with gratitude, and Marcus inclined his head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said. "We won't let you down." The Queen's projection lingered for a moment longer, her gaze lingering on her daughter. "I know you won't," she said simply, before the hologram dissolved into light. In the days that followed, preparations began for the couple's official role as interspecies ambassadors. The stellar Horizon was refitted with advanced diplomatic facilities, blending human engineering with Zytherian crystalline technology. Lyria worked tirelessly alongside Marcus, teaching him the nuances of Zytherian culture while learning the intricacies of human diplomacy. Their partnership became a model of cooperation, inspiring others to follow suit. Yet challenges remained. Rival factions within the Dominion launched covert campaigns to discredit the alliance, spreading misinformation and sowing discord. Human extremists, too, opposed the arrangement, fearing cultural dilution or political subjugation. But Lyria and Marcus faced these obstacles together, drawing strength from their bond and the growing network of supporters who believed in their vision. One evening, as they stood on the observation deck of the stellar Horizon, gazing out at the swirling nebulae that painted the void, Lyria turned to Marcus. "Do you ever wonder if we're asking too much of the universe? To change so quickly, after so long?" Marcus took her hand, his fingers tracing the delicate ridges of her scaled skin. "Maybe," he admitted. "But the universe has a way of surprising us." Look how far we've come already. And besides, he grinned, his eyes twinkling with mischief, if anyone can bend the stars to their will, it's you. Lyria laughed, her bioluminescence dancing in response. Then perhaps we should aim higher, she teased. Perhaps we'll teach the stars to sing. And so, under the watchful eyes of two civilizations, Lyria and Marcus embarked on their shared journey, not just as representatives of their species, but as pioneers of a new path forward. Their love, born of chance and nurtured by courage, had become a beacon of hope in a vast and often unforgiving cosmos. Though the road ahead would be fraught with trials, they faced it together, united by a dream of a brighter, more connected future. As their ship sailed into the endless expanse, its hybrid engines humming with the harmonized energy of both worlds, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging the promise carried within.